Before we get to that, though, I want to kind of talk a little bit more about a topic I talked about really all weekend, and the criticism I've heard of me, which I want to respond to quickly. And that is, I've talked a lot about the weekend about the conservative movement or the Republicans or people on the right, and the fact that there's a lot of disarray within the conservative movement. They're trying to figure out who they are, what they represent. To what extent is the Republican Party, and more specifically conservatives, to what extent are they pro-free markets? To what extent is free markets a part of their ideology or not? These are things that are being heavily, heavily debated as we speak in the Republican Party and in the conservative movement. I see article after article after article from all sides, from all parts of the right, if you will, addressing these things. And it's all very revealing and very interesting because, you know, the more they write, the more clear it is that they have drifted far, far away from being any allies of mine, or I think most of yours. So there's a lot of soul-searching going on right now. And one of the reasons I am spending as much time as I am on this topic, there are a number of reasons. I've talked about some in the past. I won't repeat myself. But I want to talk about two reasons that I haven't talked about. Or maybe I have, but it's been a while anyway. One is, there's a debate going on. There's a debate going on about what the right represents, what it should represent, what the role of free markets are in a free society, to what extent the right should be pro-free markets or anti-free markets, to what extent it used to be and is not anymore, or is not or never used to be or never was. To what extent is, more fundamentally, individualism important to conservatives? Is individualism part of conservatism, or is it, as many are arguing right now, is it the enemy of conservatism? What should be the attitude towards individualism versus collectivism? What is the attitude towards reason versus religion? These are active intellectual debates going on among conservatives, among Republicans. I don't think they're very good necessarily discussions, or I also would say that I can't think of how would I put it? They're not inspiring right now in terms of positive arguments, in terms of, you're seeing very, very little defense of individualism, capitalism, freedom. But the debate is happening. It's an intellectual debate. There's no debate going on the left. There is a little bit about critical race theory, stuff like that. But as I said yesterday, there are lots of people dealing with that. And I have dealt with it, and I've dealt with it a lot, and there's just only so much you can say about the ridiculous nature of critical race theory. And there's some wins happening. I don't know if you saw this just quickly on critical race theory. A school district in Texas, in Dallas, relatively affluent neighborhood, that voted for Biden in the last election in Dallas, in Texas, has overwhelmingly elected anti-critical race theory representatives to the school board. Indeed, from what I read, not a single pro-critical race theory person got elected. This is in a Biden district. Well, maybe it was Trump and then they cheated and it became Biden's, but assuming the election was fair. In a Biden district, and yet they went all out anti-critical race theory. Critical race theory is not an ideology that is going to sweep across this country and get people excited. It's damaging in lots of ways, particularly to individual lives. It's damaging in lots of ways by eroding the meaning of true civilization and the meaning of eroding, I think, the progress that is being made against racism. So I think critical race theory is going to be a force that enhances racism in our society. But it is not, I don't think, dominant. Anyway, my point is, there's actually a debate going on the right. There are actually positions. Some of those positions sound like ours. Some people can be swayed in our direction. This is the debate we should be participating in. We should be finding the better people and moving them in our direction. Just yelling and criticizing and moaning and complaining about the left all day and all night doesn't differentiate, and it doesn't help us participate in what I think is a crucial debate about that is going to affect the future of this country. The path that the Republican Party goes in, the path that the so-called conservative movement goes into, will determine whether there is an opposition to the left, will determine whether there are better ideas in politics. I don't expect them to become objectivists. I don't expect them to become advocates of free markets or understand what individualism actually stands for. But can they be better than Trump? Can they be better than the new right? Can they be less collectivistic? Can they be more on the access of free markets? Or are they going to land up like, what's her name from yesterday, Lauren Southern? So the debate on the conservative side is crucial. It will determine the future of this country. And I view myself as participating in that through you. The second reason I put so much emphasis on this is that I have little worries that objectivists or fellow travelers or people who think they're objectivists or just people who follow the Iran Book Show or maybe follow the Ayn Rand Institute or whatever. I have a little worry that any of you are going to be influenced by critical race theory and become rabid leftists. But I have seen many of you become new rightists. I have seen many of you become alt-rightists. I did see many of you become fanatical supporters, unapologetic, and I mean unapologetic in terms of justifying everything the guy did, supporters of Trump. I don't fear that you're going to become supporters of Elizabeth Warren or of white fragility or, as I said, of critical race theory. But could you become supporters of Josh Hawley, of the alt-right, of Lauren Southern? Yeah, I've seen it. It's been happening over the last 5-6 years. And I'm here to speak up against it. I'm here to try, I don't know how successful I'm going to be, try to prevent it from happening. So I know some of you, Apollo says, not me, not me. I know you're just going to have to bear my preaching, my arguing, my attacks on the right. So my efforts is to try to prevent. Then you want somebody to push back on cancel culture, then go find somebody to push back on cancel culture. There are plenty of people pushing back on cancel culture. So go do it, Scott. A lot of people are here to hear whatever it is that I'm talking about, and I think the evidence of that is the support I get on the Super Chat, on the monthly contributions, on the show sponsorships. Now, maybe I'd make more money if I attacked cancel culture, but go do it. Whoever does it will take over the right. Great, then go. Lindsay, what's his name? Something Lindsay has been attacking the cancel culture nonstop. Is he going to be the dominant force on the right? I doubt it. I doubt it. Anyway, I'm going to push back on cancel culture. in proportion to what I think it requires, in ways that differentiate us. But my bigger concern is that you are tempted by the right, that you are tempted by collectivism, that you are tempted by statism, that your hatred of the left causes you to become irrational. And I see that on this chat all the time. So that's the enemy. That's what I'm going after. That's what I'm addressing. And I hope I hit a nerve. I think I hit a nerve before, as Valdrin says, because that's the reality. So I am fighting the right. I am. And I'm fighting the left. But I think I'm unique. What makes me different is that I'm fighting the right from an individualist, capitalist perspective, which nobody else does. Everybody else who fights the right does it from a leftist perspective, from a collectivist perspective, from an altruist perspective.
And to begin with, I wonder if I can ask you to capsulize, I know this is difficult, can I ask you to capsulize your philosophy? What is Randism?
First of all, I do not call it Randism, and I don't like that name. I call it objectivism.
All right.
Meaning a philosophy based on objective reality. Now let me explain it as briefly as I can. First, my philosophy is based on the concept that reality exists as an objective absolute, that man's mind, reason, is his means of perceiving it, and that man needs a rational morality. I am primarily the creator of a new code of morality which has so far been believed impossible, namely a morality not based on faith.
On faith?
Not on faith, not on arbitrary whim, not on emotion, not on arbitrary edict, mystical or social, but on reason, a morality which can be proved by means of logic, which can be demonstrated to be true and necessary.
All right, all right.
Now, may I define what my morality is?
All right.
Because this is merely an introduction. My morality is based on man's life as a standard of value. And since man's mind is his basic means of survival, I hold that if man wants to live on earth and to live as a human being, he has to hold reason as an absolute, by which I mean that he has to hold reason as his only guide to action, and that he must live by the independent judgment of his own mind, that his highest moral purpose is the achievement of his own happiness, and that he must not force other people, nor accept their right to force him, that each man must live as an end in himself and follow his own rational self-interest.
May I?
All right, before we go on, reminder, please like the show. We've got 163 live listeners right now, 30 likes. That should be at least 100. I figure at least 100 of you actually like the show. Maybe there are like 60 of the Matthews out there who hate it. But at least the people who are liking it, you know, I want to see a thumbs up. There you go. Start liking it. I want to see that go to 100. All it takes is a click of a thing, whether you're looking at this. And you know, the likes matter. It's not an issue of my ego. It's an issue of the algorithm. The more you like something, the more the algorithm likes it. So, you know, and if you don't like the show, give it a thumbs down. Let's see your actual views being reflected in the likes. But if you like it, don't just sit there. Help get the show promoted. Of course, you should also share. And you can support the show at JeronBrooksShow.com/support, or on Patreon or Subscribestar or Locals, and show your support for the work, for the value hopefully you're receiving from this. And of course, don't forget, if you're not a subscriber, even if you just come here to troll, or even if you're here like Matthew to defend Marx, then you should subscribe, because that way you'll know when to show up. You'll know what shows are on, when they're on. You'll get notified, right? So, yes, Like, share, subscribe, support. Like, share, subscribe, support. There you go. Easy. Do one or all of those, please.